this common council meeting to order. Would you please rise for pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk call roll, please?
Evans?
Here.
Lee? Here. Groton?
Here.
Burrows? Here. Muchka? Here. And Marley is excused.
First item of business is approval of the agenda as printed. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Foodie, second by Grant. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approved minutes of previous meetings? So moved.
Second.
Motion by Morose, second by Muchka. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approved minutes of intervening meetings. Motion to that effect.
So moved.
Motion by Foodie,
Second.
second by Morose. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public comment regarding agenda items. Let the record show there is nobody in attendance unless you two gentlemen want to speak.
I'm just going to talk in regards to Resolution 1324, 2024, and a small discussion of old business, if that's all right.
Very good. Okay, communications. Anything from the clerk?
None.
Nothing from me. Approved payments of bills, checks for $1,337,651.31. Electronic transfers, $171,853.59. Is there a motion to approve the payment of bills as printed?
So moved.
Motion by Grattan. Second by Evans. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Aye. Groton?
Aye.
Evans?
Aye.
Foodie?
Aye.
Burrows?
Aye.
Muchka? Aye.
Payment of bills have been approved.
I'm ready to get out of here.
Reports of officials, the mayor. I guess the only thing I have to report is the East Oak Street project is progressing nicely. I'm under the understanding that they're supposed to be bringing in the grading crew for blacktop for the binder coat. Streetlights were erected by Nick and crew there the last couple of days, so things moving on well with very few problems that I'm aware of. So. Clerk, you have anything to report?
Sent out budget to department heads today. They should be back with the first round in about a month. The auditor should be here within the next month or so with their update as well. So, other than that,
Any questions for the clerk? Seeing none? Moving on to written reports. We have building permit report, police department report, the Juneau Fire and Rescue report, and the Juneau EMS report. Any questions on those? Seeing none, we'll move on to committees, commissions, and boards. Library report. We've got a former face, or former employee filling our new library director's position.
Yeah.
Connie Schuett, she's was with us for how many years, Connie?
4, just over 4, yeah.
Before she decided to raise a family.
Yeah.
So we were lucky to get her recruited and hired. Jeanette's leaving, so I'll turn it over to you.
That's basically what I was going to say. I don't have an official library report yet. I'm just heading into my 3rd week, but I wanted to say hi, and here I am.
Connie always did a fine job for us prior, so I'm assuming she'll step right in and hit the ground running, right?
Sounds good.
Any questions for our new library director? You're off the hook.
All right, excellent.
Thank you, Connie. Welcome. Moving on, Plan Commission, David.
Plan Commission did meet. We met and there was public comment from Mr. and Mrs. Monahan along with Dr. Della Ross via phone to discuss the property maintenance issues at 491 South Main Street. We were to review some of the things that were going on. The property is zoned R1A, not P1, which is residential. And it's not public, which is what a church needs to be zoned. So the church she has is it's in violation of the zoning that she's in, so they'll have to do something with the zoning if they want to do that. Further investigation with the building inspector and police chief will be pursued. The committee agrees that there is nothing stating that a vegetable garden can't be planted in the front yard. Our ordinance needs to be updated. No action was taken at this time. Then we had a letter of intent from the county approving parcels that were within our jurisdiction. Then we had a carport on North Main Street that's now being enclosed and is now requires a fire-rated wall on the dwelling. That was our meeting.
Any questions for David? Hearing none, we'll move on. Finance, Richard.
Excuse me. We didn't have a meeting. However, we have a resolution that needs amending. We previously passed a resolution to purchase decorative streetlights for the East Oak Street project, reconstruction project using ARPA funds. The cost for the decorative fixture, which is the part that hangs on the top, is higher than was originally estimated, and this is an amended resolution to include the additional cost. I think that's what this is, Nick?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just to go off what Dick said, if you guys recall, we did an estimated cost of what we thought the fixtures were going to be. This is a fixture I've never even looked at before, had no understanding of what they potentially could cost. We did an estimated cost, I believe it was $500 per fixture, and obviously this comes in higher than that. The new city total, if this were to pass, would be $32,400 versus the $22,000 some change that was approved. The poles have been placed. The fixtures obviously haven't because I need a resolution to do so. Attached, you'll see what the utility cost would be, that $20,700, and that's our standard fixture pole charge of our standard pole and fixture that we currently put out. Attached, you'll see the specifications for the pole itself that we already discussed, and the final two pictures are basically just images of what that fixture is gonna look like.
All right, I'm going to read the resolution. Resolution 13-2024 amended. Approve the purchase of 9 decorative streetlight poles and 9 decorative fixtures for East Oak Street reconstruction project. Whereas the Plan Commission and Finance Committee have reviewed a request for the installation of 9 decorative streetlight poles with decorative fixtures for East Oak Street reconstruction project. And whereas the Plan Commission and the Finance Committee received a quote of $4,350 per decorative streetlight pole with an estimated $1,550 per decorative fixture. And whereas the electric utility will credit each pole up to $2,267. And whereas the Finance Committee recommends using American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds to pay for the 9 decorative streetlight poles and 9 decorative fixtures. And whereas the Plan Commission and Finance Committee recommend the purchase of 9 decorative streetlight poles plus 9 decorative fixtures for a total not to exceed $32,400. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Juneau accepts the aforementioned recommendation passed by the Common Council of the City of Juneau this 9th day of July 2024. I would move for passage of Resolution 13-2024 amended.
Motion by Evans,
Second?
second by Foote. Any further discussion? Nick, you're probably on top of it as anybody. You have ordered the poles already and all that. You told me that a month or so ago. So those are in transit or en route or locked up in dry dock one of the two. So.
That's correct.
Anything to add why there was such a discrepancy, or is it just that they got a corner on the market and they can charge about what they want?
I did compare this manufacturer to other manufacturers, and this is the going price. It was just me not knowing what the price of these fixtures were going for at the time. Like stated in the last meeting, our standard fixtures cost about $238. So we were figuring, how much can a fixture really get in excess? And clearly, I was wrong.
Well, pre-COVID pricing, I can tell you, being in the same business, pre-COVID pricing is altogether than post-COVID pricing. Things you paid X amount of dollars for, you can at least triple, maybe quadruple the price of the stuff, which is ridiculous. I don't know if they've got the license to steal or how they justify it, but they do. Pricing for wire, conduit, piping, anything you go, it's just nuts. I mean, and there's really no reason for it, other than the fact that they've got the corner on the market, or got it where they want it right now. So, but I think the fixture that Nick picked out was a good fit. It's kind of like Nick's wife had said, you know, at chamber meetings, she's, I commonly don't go around the community looking at streetlights like my husband does. So we kind of planted the seed at the chamber meeting that this would be a viable option for the chamber to fundraise funds for, rather than poles at those extravagant costs. The light fixtures would be the thing that the chamber will try and raise money for. Can't say they're going to come up with all of that, but I think there will be a concerted effort. Dave, you got anything to?
Well, other than the rat fries and things that they've been having, there was talk of different ways to raise the money.
And they want something nice downtown, at least the ones that are active in the chamber, the ones that make their living. Not all of them that live, not all of them that have businesses downtown, but a lot of them say, hey, we've gone to other communities, why can't Juneau have something like this? Why do we always stick with the plain Jane stuff or whatever? Oh, excuse me, the plain Joe stuff. Plain old Sally stuff. So anyway.
I guess the only thing I'll add is, you know, if we're spending the money on more decorative pole, to me it makes sense that you're going to spend money on the fixture instead of putting just a standard fixture head up there. It's going to be quite small in comparison, I guess, to the pole if you're going to put a standard fixture up there. If you go through Portage, take a look at Portage. They have the similar fixtures. That's where I've seen them last. So. Columbus has them as well. They're a little different than Columbus, but
Conwood.
So that's all I have.
I can say they make a huge difference, I think.
Yeah.
No other questions? I guess I'll call the question. Roll call vote, please.
Evans?
Aye.
Booty?
Aye.
Groton?
Aye.
Morose?
No.
Rushka? Aye.
Resolution 13-2024 has passed. Anything else from finance?
No, that's it.
Personnel, okay.
Didn't he?
Public safety. Public works.
It works, we did meet. We met about the water issues on the Wild Goose Estates. It seemed good until heavy rains, not told of high water in the development area. Hard pipe extensions will go to all homes to tie into storm sewer. Should it be done when the curb and gutter go in. Right for now, we're going to pump to the, we're asking people to pump to the road, not just to the lawn. Put the pipe right out on the blacktop, and then we get to the catch basins. The committee asked Joe to get some estimates for a temporary 8-inch pipe on the north side of the street to connect the houses that they can directly go into the storm sewer. Do you have anything you want to say about that up there, Joe?
Not really, not tonight. I don't want to open that can.
Okay. All right. We also discussed street sweeping fees. Currently, the city of Juneau sweeps Iron Ridge and the fairgrounds and Reeseville. We talked about the appropriate approximate hours and rates and fuel surcharge. Committee agreed on $175 for the first hour and $150 for the followings. These funds will help with the repairs needed for the street sweeping. Thought that money could go into, of course, that's all in the bookkeeping part of it. That money would go into a spot that money goes to fix that piece of equipment. That would be pretty nice. Seeing we service other communities, that will let them down as well as us. We're discussed setting a weight limit for Center Street. The city would talk to Brian Fields as Center Street is a county road. Mr. Runge called me up and told me that he wouldn't be at the meeting, and he found out through the state that it's our street. They say it's our street, and if we want to say no semis on it, even though it's county road, it's our street. We maintain the street. We pay for all the damages to it. None of the funds come from the state. So if we want to put a weight limit on it at the end, we can do that. Semis will have to go around now. We have to notify them by October or November.
By
And then
January 20th in the state.
they go to committee with it and notify that people, I suppose, that's closed now. So they have to go another route. So we'll have to act on that this summer yet. Get that done.
Has he received any written confirmation on that, or did he just get the approval?
He didn't send me any paperwork. He's got some. With his wife being sick, he can't. It's a little tough right now. Joe presented some of the street projects that need to be completed. He went over the amount of budget, money in the budget, estimated what it would cost to complete all the streets. There are not enough funds for all the streets this year to enable that. He plans to budget more into the streets next year. That was our meeting.
Any question for you?
Is there a date on the curb and gutter for the loose
Estates,
estates?
not that I'm aware of. I think that have to be in conjunction with the budget as well as with the contractor that's out there. The storm sewer needs to be addressed. We get that correctly to all the houses so they can get rid of the water and.
That would help their water issue, right?
Correct.
For curb and gutter? Or is
Well,
that irrelevant?
No, that would help, but we've got to get the storm sewer correctly done from how Heckman did it. So that it goes to all the houses, get rid of the water.
Joe, you want to give an overview of, it's not so much just collecting it in the neighborhood, it's transporting it elsewhere is the issue, so.
Yeah, a lot of people doesn't see, the big picture is, hey, there's a water problem up there when it rains excessively. But the second part of that is our ditch that we have to get rid of, that said water can't handle that water. So, it takes time for it to dissipate, go down. So it's encroaching these houses up there. So we have a very large problem. What do we do when this water is near people's homes and our ditch is full? The city just cleaned that ditch out 3 months ago, like literally a month before the heavy rain started. We had that ditch cleaned out by a contractor.
So we'll probably need to get some kind of expert in as to our options, as to how we're going to remedy.
That's kind of where.
That's a very wet area.
Correct.
To start with. So this body can anticipate probably some pretty big costs to remedy that, more than the normal curb and gutter costs.
Before the curb and gutter, we definitely need to look at all options to have a professional it's not gonna, I don't believe it's gonna be one plan and this is gonna work, you know, it's gonna be multiple, what the city wants, this won't work, this will work. Mr. Unge, I know he's talked about a hydrology study, a test, and I mean, I don't know how much that would even cost to have done. But I don't know if just putting curb and gutter and sidewalk in isn't gonna fix the problem.
Well, it's good that we know it's on our radar, something that we're gonna have to.
You also want to enlighten them about the county outfall.
What's that?
You want to enlighten the group about the county outfall, water that comes off the county property.
Oh, well, I don't, when were those retention ponds put in, when they put Trailview through? I mean, our ditch that takes all that water, I mean, it's full. When it rains, it's full. There's no pitch up there. I mean, Juneau's flat. And, you know, when our ditches are full and backed up, you know, the county has 2 retention ponds off of Trailview behind, you know, Dodge County, Clearview up there and things like that. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but their discharge pipes go into our ditch. And their discharge pipes are 18 inches, 24 inches higher than our discharge pipes. So when we're backed up and full, they're still sending more water at us. So that's, I mean, I don't know who or how that was done, however, you know, years ago, but unfortunately, I mean, we've helped it the best that we can at the time by cleaning out the ditch. It flows as fast as it can flow. And, you know, when we had that 5 inches of rain in 24 hours, I mean, there was water over Highland, down through the gardens. I mean, I went up there Tuesday morning, and the storm sewer was full right to the top all day long. 18-inch pipe took 18 inches of water all day long.
So the big issue here is the outlet is overwhelmed. So, you know, just collecting it and making it get faster to the ditch is not going to solve our problems unless we have an outlet to get that water out of there. And this goes all the way back to the early 90s when we did County Trunk DJ or East Oak Grove Street. Mike Lau made us aware that we should really have twice the size pipe going to our city limits from that street to the south. So now here we have all of that coming all the way from Clearview, all the way down through that pipe, let alone what we're draining outside of town through our fields and whatever is finding its way into our system there. So at that time, the railroad property was all being divvied up amongst anybody that abutted it. And at that time, they talked about a cost of doubling the size of the pipe that relieves that ditch. And nothing ever happened to it. So we've been on alert for all these years, but no action's ever been taken about it. And when you get a 3-hour rain, we pay. We pay. So. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Cable TV.
No meeting.
Community Development Authority, no meeting. Rec Committee. No meeting?
No meeting.
Utility Commission, we did have a meeting.
Yes, we always meet.
For hours.
I'll just give some of the highlights of our meeting. The commission approved purchasing a single-phase air conditioner for the post office building for $6,700. This will save the utility about $17,000 by not having to build the infrastructure necessary to supply the 3-phase air conditioning unit that is currently in place. The commission approved adding verbiage to the wage scale so that an apprentice will not receive step 9 wages until the successful completion of the journeyman exam. Street lights on East Oak Street construction should be done this week. They're done. Okay. Are done this week, or last week. The electrical utility provided mutual aid to Waterloo utilities after they were hit with severe weather. The DNR requires that 20 homes be tested for lead and copper in their water. Homes have to be a certain age, and the utility personnel will be required to take 2 water samples a year. As an incentive for obtaining customers for testing, the commission approved a bill credit of $25 per sample for participants. Should contact the utility office if you're interested. I think the homes have to be older than 1967. 1970? Oh, okay.
Sign me up.
Lead solder.
That's other.
Large amount of rain that we had in the past weeks caused many problems out at the wastewater treatment plant. The operators had to deal with a lot of flooding and overflow issues and worked hard to keep the plant functioning. I guess it was a pretty good mess out there, but they got through it. Another lead lateral was found on East Oak Street during the East Oak Street project and was replaced. We're hoping that that should be the last lead, but they'll still pop up. They seem to pop up every once in a while. Fire hydrants in the northeast part of the city were painted. They do certain parts of the city every year, I guess. And then we talked about a mutual aid agreement. Alex brought it up about a mutual aid agreement that Mayville is proposing for water utility operations. We just talked about it, we didn't do anything with it. It really wasn't on the agenda, it was just part of the report. And that's about it.
Any questions for Richard for utility? Seeing none. Any old business tonight?
Yeah, just wanted to bring up, we're always talking about efficiency in the city of Juneau, and we have these monthly department head meetings. We discuss, what's going on in our month between departments, and a common discussion is always road projects and how clear it is going forward with plans, communication with the department heads on what is the directive that the council's taken. And with the most recent project that's coming up is obviously the downtown. There's a lot of things that are up in the air as far as, are we doing this concept? Are we doing these beautification things? It's putting stress on some of the department heads of this is what we got to be ready for. What Megan has to contact the engineer about for getting bids for ARPA funds. Am I gonna have to budget for getting power to a possible plaza? I guess going forward, can we make it a standard for the city to have a pre-construction contract meeting with all department heads and whatever city officials are needed to be involved to say, this is what our vision of this road is going to be, this is what's going to be decided and brought to council to approve on. I know there's a resolution that was made for East Oak, and it's very open-ended, I guess, as far as what it pertains to. Are we going forward with a standard East Oak replacement with beautification items, or are we going with a concept that the chambers has engineered through their funds that the city is selecting? I guess it's just something that we as department heads of it always seems like it's a constant struggle.
Yeah, I'll just add, because I go to the department head meetings, and my recollection from last month was that we approved the 100,000, the streetlights, park benches, receptacles, colored sidewalk, but I thought there was, in my recollection, was that it was not going to include the gathering plaza, right? But now we have a design with the gathering plaza. I thought, I'm confused. I didn't see, I don't think we passed that, I don't think we approved approve that, and yet it's part of the design, and so I get confused as how did that decision get made? Why did they give us that design?
That was asked for prior to those dollar amounts for all those individual items. There hadn't been any discussion after that.
Well, so the Gathering Plaza, is it a go? Is
No,
it
that was,
not?
that was supposed to be strictly an option.
So I think there's a lot of confusion between what happens at council and this is what's gonna happen. Like, we're unaware, are we getting a 2-foot addition sidewalk on the south side of East Oak? Are we, again, you talked about the plaza, and I did have a conversation with Jason. I have conversations, he doesn't charge, like, we just have quick conversations. And like, he is out of the loop too as far as what was selected going forward. This is the design that we have selected and approved. And this project is obviously more messy than others because the Chambers is involved. The Chambers had a grant money. They used it to design these 3 concept plans that the city wasn't sure if they were going to select or not. And I think there just needs to be clarification, you know, going forward with this project and future projects, that we have a department head and city official meeting saying, you know, these are the designs that we're going to approve, or at least going to bring to council for approval. That way, there's input by the city officials, there's input by the department heads that are involved in, you know, obviously the project itself. You know, Joe's probably got a lot of insight on some of the things involved in the road project, like the concrete standing. Not sure if that's happening, but there's some flaws in certain color concrete standing that fade over time. There's a lot of input that can be given prior to bringing to an official council meeting for approval. And then obviously involve Jason in that meeting too. That way it's more streamlined. Everybody's got understanding. We come out level-headed, and I just feel like this one has been the worst because of the Chamber's involvement, and I think it's going to be a little messy going forward because I think there's a lot of predisposed expectations that are going to be happening with that road and might not be clarified with the Chamber's owners. Like, they're not getting the 2 feet or they are, because no one seems to know. I guess I don't know, and Joe doesn't know.
I don't know, and you know, we're, as department heads, we're dealing with the public and the business owners, and they're stating, you know, why is this inlet here? You know, it's supposed to be 10 feet out, and
You know, I
you know,
think
we're
they're
going off
under,
the current plans.
they're under the assumption that concept B was approved. You know, and what we approved at council was really, and what was approved by council was just to replace the road.
With a minimum of 100,000 beautification.
For beauty, you know.
Well, what does that mean? Does that mean,
And concept B basically is just what we've got there now.
but concept B also has many other characteristics that,
What's that?
The planning commission.
Planning Commission recommended concept B, sent it to finance. And now we should have a meeting, I agree with you 100%, because we're not that far yet. Because right now we're to the point that we should be making those decisions about road width and what have you. They're not getting their 5 feet they thought they were getting with concept B. And we've tried to set them straight, you know, on that. Basically, concept B is a replacement of what's up there right now, except that they had that gathering center on the north side of it, which is evidently going to be nixed because nobody's been promoting this with the county or anything like that.
And, yeah.
So,
I think, clarification-wise, I think the concepts didn't, there's like a recommendation, but then we didn't have a dollar amount attached to any of those concepts. They spent the money just getting their drawings done.
Right.
None of them had, this is how much it's gonna cost, this is gonna be the changes. So we said, oh, cool, if we can do this, this would maybe be the one that we would choose. but it never went to finance because there was no dollar amount attached to it for us to either approve or not approve.
Well, we did approve.
And we
The
approved,
ARPA one.
yeah, we approved spending the
approved
ARPA
the ARPA
funds
money.
on the street project as just replacing the street as is, and then the 100,000, to my knowledge, was beautification objects or things, and I
Right.
think we kept it generic so that, because we didn't have exactly what bench and how much that exact bench is, but I think as far as like how the road is being constructed and the gathering place, which is technically county property, so we can't really make a decision unilaterally about that, that's my understanding.
That was never approved, the gathering place.
No, well, we
Okay.
can't,
We didn't approve anything except
Right.
spending at least
So I want to give you an
$100,000
update though.
on
So I just
beautification.
received, or we just received a document from MSA, professional services agreement from MSA today, or yesterday. Yesterday. So included in that was, you know, a concept with a gathering plaza and doing all of these different things and going to Dodge County on our behalf and all and whatnot.
It was basically concept B.
And
Cut and dry.
and it had like a timeline of all of these different things. And I noticed in there that we wouldn't make our timeline. And I said, we need to have this adopted and a contract signed by December 10th, council. So he fixed that, but we need to make a decision on all of these things probably by next finance if we're gonna be in line. So
I agree 100%.
we
should
need
be
to
having
have
a
this
pre-construction
meeting then, probably next month, finance, or however you guys wanna set this up to stay in line with, and then have probably a new agreement with MSA, or set this up with Jason, or however you guys tell me the direction you want to go with this, but I will forward this to you, and you guys can look at it and you tell me how to go with this, because
I just think there needs to be a standard, especially this one, but even going forward, that
yeah.
I'm used to pre-construction meetings happen, well, this year was 3 days before the project happened. And
Right.
threw a total curveball, and I had to do a unbudgeted conversion, electric conversion, because there was a couple poles in conflict that were not addressed to me earlier on. So for efficiency, for budget purposes, for just communication, because to my feeling, even with some of you guys felt that the standard road is what's happening. No bubble outs, no, like, so that was kind of our understanding too. And then we received this thing from MSA saying, well, concept B is still up in the air. And it's like, whoa, hang on a second, you know?
Yeah.
Because I got a budget for getting electric to the plaza, if that's what's gonna happen. And I guess it's just a conversation to have with you guys. If we can formalize something, if it's a special meeting, whatever it may be, I think it helps us all as a city and our finances and everything, so.
What amazes me is what the chamber spent for that study and what didn't transpire between our MSA officials and the MSA officials that actually did the study.
Yeah,
Jason was spitballing on all of that stuff. I said to him, I said, before we decide what we're doing with these ARPA funds, you gotta come up with some numbers for us. And that's all that got put into play. He told me, he says, you know, concept B isn't gonna give them any more sidewalk on the south side of the street unless we shrink the driving lanes. And I said, well, is that an option, you know? And he said, I'll look into it. And then I think some of that transmission we had on that response
But
was,
should we
yeah.
not have voted on whether we wanted to actually embrace the entire concept B? We never voted on that.
Well, I think we kind of did indirectly.
Well, that's
made
that's
it
irrelevant.
clear.
What we do indirectly is absolutely irrelevant. You either make a formal motion and you take action, or all of this is irrelevant.
I guess we used concept B as a guideline, is really what we
We
used.
used it to approve $638,490 for this Oak Street reconstruction. for next year's budget.
I thought it was pretty clear that we were not including the gathering place.
Well, the gathering place was just an option that he
That was-
came up with
That was
dollars
never
for us.
approved.
Right, well, nothing has been approved as far as.
But I thought we made it clear.
We approved that amount of money that I just stated, and we approved using ARPA funds for the East Oak Street project, reconstruction project, with at least $100,000 being dedicated to.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I got that professional
That's what
agreement yesterday, and it had everything included. I'm like,
And how
wait a
could-
minute,
How could he have bumped the engineering fees for that?
from $82,000 to
That-
$147,000,
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
like,
Part of that,
Insane.
part of that was included the water main now.
Right, and the
I
inspection.
think there was 80,000 of that was for,
anyway.
But there is no design aspect of that.
You guys
water.
let me know what you want me to do after I send that to you.
Well,
Give
so
me
so
some
there has to be a
direction.
clear decision whether we're going to do this gathering plaza.
Cost prohibitive is really what it boiled down to.
Okay, so,
Not necessarily.
Well, I guess.
Right, so is that
Okay,
an
I
agenda
get it.
item on next month's finance meeting
Yeah.
with the department heads there?
It's pretty hard to proceed with improvements when you don't own the land or have permission from the
Right, we
owners.
can't.
right,
Those set
that, I think that's
improvements, then.
kind of what I brought up last month, is
Yeah.
like, well, we don't even
But
know if
has
the
that
county
even
will
been
do it.
pursued?
No. He's working off what he gave us prior to all these line items that the
All-
finance committee came up with.
all I know is the plaza cost was $127,000.
Yeah. And there he said,
Without
he openly
purchasing land.
admitted he spitballed at those numbers because he didn't know what
Yeah.
they were figuring for building materials or anything like that. So that all comes from the original request for all these benches and colored concrete and et cetera, et cetera. That all comes from that same request. So he wasn't told to pull back on those reins, so I suppose that's what he incorporated into. But I cannot believe we almost doubled our engineering costs or something like that. That's
I'm just gonna
ridiculous.
leave it be until someone tells me different. Because I
So
feel like I'm just,
I think it needs to be clear, like, what is the process going forward? What's the schedule? What's the timeline?
Yeah, do we have to decide at council which plan we're gonna pick?
You don't have to pick any of those plans. Those things were just,
Or not,
Designs.
or not pick a plan.
right. Plan B,
Right now, we have a certain amount of money dedicated.
Plan B more copies what we have there right now.
But
Doesn't really change much of anything.
but the
I
decisions,
saw a couple bump outs, so.
the
Well, that's
decisions,
with that Plaza.
No, there's
On the corners.
on
Oh,
the
that's
east
right.
end and the west end of the project.
That's
it
right.
narrows up
I
quite
forgot about that.
substantially.
You're right.
So it would seem that if finance has it on their agenda and just, or I don't know who has it on their agenda. But we need
What I
to,
told you is what we've approved.
Right.
That was sent to us, that amount of money.
I mean, do we have finance and then a special council after? I mean, how do we,
I don't know, is finance the right place to make the decision as to what the road's gonna look like?
exactly, that's.
I think we should have a construction meeting with Jason prior to that. So that he can give us his input on what his thoughts were when he put this stuff together.
Well, at least there, we can then say, the plaza's out. We don't know if the county's gonna give us a permit, they don't know if we're
Right.
gonna sell it to us.
I can tell them that in an email.
We're just
can't
not
I?
doing the $127,000 worth. Let's focus on A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And,
I can tell them that in an email though, can't I?
yeah, you can, and he can present it at that
Oh.
whatever special meeting we have.
You tell me.
At the time he put those guesstimates together, those were all viable options. You know, if we wanted to act on them, that's where those dollar amounts had came. But I don't know how that changed engineering that dramatically. I could have seen that bumping up the engineering cost maybe $10,000, but I can't understand how
Well, he had
how we
going to-
jumped from 80 something, because that's the only thing that we've got on there.
He had going to Dodge County meetings.
Yeah.
He had a whole bunch of different things listed
Right.
on there.
But how does that go from 80 some thousand to 140 some thousand?
Ah, I don't
That makes
know.
no sense.
Well, obviously, we gotta have some clarification. This is muddy for everybody, and we just need, and I think that brings me to another old item, about the planters and, the tree, so we do this. Who decides what tree goes into these pods, or what flowers get planted, and when they get changed, or how they get maintained? Does that move then to the authority of the DPW because they are to maintain them? Does the chamber have any, say in it, or is the chamber, it's like, out of it then?
If the
That
chamber
the-
ain't paying for it, I wouldn't say they'd have any say.
All right, so so that's clear, right? That these potted plants, whatever, I mean, I think Joe needs to know, so he's the one that will call the shot, what gets planted, when it gets planted, if it gets changed, how it gets maintained.
Right?
Okay, I mean,
I'm gonna agree, well, I was gonna back up a little bit and say, I agree with Nick. I think a pre-construction meeting should have happened a while ago. And I have multiple questions on sidewalk, how far we're tearing the sidewalk out, where the colored sidewalk is talked about being put, hopefully not in the roadway. These trees, there's ordinances against trees and how the streetlights affect with, one person complains that this tree is affecting the cast of the streetlight. We have an ordinance that says, that it's not to affect the streetlights at all. And then maintaining said foliage. I mean, we watered a lot of sod, and it was a pain in the butt. We have to maintain these trees year round. There's water, there's time, there's material that's gonna have to be bought, tanks, pumps. This year, yeah, we wouldn't have to water. A year like last year, we're gonna have somebody come in and water on the weekends. We've tried the hanging baskets for years, and it turned into, after Tex passed away however many years ago, I mean, he took very good care of our hanging baskets, and it went downhill after that. I watched it. And we went to fake flowers and hanging baskets, and now all those hanging baskets and all those big pots, they sit in the concession stand. One pot is out because the lady at the tattoo shop asked for one, and she takes care of it. She planted it, she took care of it. I mean, it'll be another job to do. And, say we don't water for a weekend, and then for some reason that tree dies while they don't take care of anything. I mean, it's something to think about. I mean, I'm not saying that's how it's gonna be, but, and, from what I was told is, this is what you're gonna do. Well, it would have been nice to been made aware of, well, you guys are gonna be taking care of said trees, and, what are you gonna need? Because, we're gonna have to go out and buy a tank. We're gonna have to go out and buy a pump and hoses and put all that together. I mean, we'll build it ourselves, but none of that stuff's cheap.
Was there a discussion
Well-
on that trees were gonna be planted?
Well, I think that's why,
Well, they're
for
gonna
the
be
most part,
they're
it
gonna be
was,
potted trees, that's what I was told.
well, for the most part, that's why I think the resolution was intentionally vague, because we haven't decided necessarily on anything. Planters we got a quote for it, because it is one of the common beautification things that downtowns do. And we said, oh, this would roughly be what that cost. We have no idea what it looks like. We did decide to not include something that included like street grates where they put trees into the sidewalk. We said that's not feasible. These planters, similar to something like Horicon has, like people really like those. There was no discussion as what's going in them. Maybe it is fake plants. Maybe it is a decorative item. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I think the resolution was left intentionally vague because we haven't made like this planter, we want it in black and it's 4 feet tall and it will house poinsettias for 6 months out of the year. Like, we didn't want to make any of those decisions because we hadn't talked with anyone yet, but we do have to decide how we're going to spend ARPA money now. So we thought if we keep it to something that are items that can either be changed, updated, maybe we want 8 benches instead of 4 planters. Like, we still have the flexibility to do that without a giant change on the giant picture of what the road will look like. So I think that's why it is intentionally vague, because we haven't decided anything. At this point anyways.
Yeah, I think the only thing I ever recall was the trees would have been their Christmas trees. They wanted to put them in so that they didn't have to tag them into the sidewalk and stuff like that. So I can't see anything being in those pots for more than 6 months, to tell you the truth. But maybe I'm all wet because we've been really beat it to death. It was just,
And I think the prices we're dealing with were estimates on.
Oh, yeah, they were all, because he
It
did
was
that
thrown
over the
together pretty
weekend
fast.
prior to our meeting. He
Yeah.
put that together over a 3-day weekend. So,
Yeah, I think we just wanted to prioritize that a portion of the ARPA money would be going towards something to improve the visual of downtown in a general basis, that we wouldn't.
Not changing the street.
Yeah, not changing the street. We didn't want to just throw all of it into a street project and it just be kind of literally buried into the street as far as ARPA money goes. So I think that that's the level of decision making we made on it, is that that amount should go towards something to make downtown look beautiful.
So then it moves to DPW to make the specifics. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out who makes that, and who
Specific
decides on the
decision.
specifics.
Who's gonna be the decider on the street? On what the street project's gonna
I
entail?
think the pre-construction meeting is a good move to get some of that stuff ironed out. And have who would be involved with the department heads. And generally Dave and I sit down there, but you as finance, the meetings are always open. We usually have them in the morning, beat it to death for a couple hours, and then we kind of formulate a plan. Like I said, these loose ends are just loose ends because this all kind of happened. It hasn't been, it was talked about in 3 different concepts, which they spent 35 grand on. And like I said, concept B that we picked at Plan Commission was as close to a replica as what you got down there right now, except that it had that cabin place on that, and that was up in the air because who's gonna pursue that? The last we talked about was, well, maybe if we don't own it, maybe the county will let us put it on there. That we fund it, they use it and what have you. That's probably unlikely, I don't know, because of liability reasons or something like that.
They
So-
might be open to it, but you're talking about a county process, right? So
Then
you-
somebody's gotta go there
Right,
and
somebody
sell it.
who has the authority to represent the city, not the chamber, but the city.
Right.
Would have to say, the city has passed this plan that, is subject to the county's, approval, or the county, helping us with it, because it depends on a whole nother entity, the county. And that would go to their committee, right? It would go to whatever appropriate committee in the county. And then it'd have to go to the whole county board of supervisors, about 32 would have to decide on this. And so that's a whole process.
Absolutely. And I don't think you're gonna fit that timeline into the process.
Right, so that would be my concern, that we're not going to be able to, you might, I'm not saying you couldn't, but that'll probably be a little bit of a challenge, especially because we haven't made any firm resolution, this is our direction, this is where we're going to go, this is what the city is willing to spend. So, the city has this plan for this amount of money. County, would you be willing to do this for us? Well, then their process ends. And I just think we're so far down the road that it may or may not.
Right, so the next step is, like you said, a pre-construction meeting or whatever. Why don't we schedule one?
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
Yeah.
That'd be the next step.
And for both, what Joe is asking and, the specifics.
Department
and,
heads.
For the department heads, so.
We've got that timeline that we have to have a signed contract in place for those ARPA funds to come into our coffers. So there's no 2 ways that we weren't planning on doing this. It's just that now we finally got numbers here just a month ago. And I don't see anybody promoting this plaza. He put, he put it, and I did ask Nick if the plaza would go. We have an opportunity to get power over there. That was about it.
I just think what threw everybody off was the resolution was for a standard road design, $100,000 minimum for beautification. And then when we saw the concept B come through, that affects the design of the road. It's not just beautification steps that are
Right.
added to the road, it's actual design changes.
I would love to give those people a couple more feet of sidewalk, but we have to decide if narrowing our driving lanes is prudent. You know, if it's not prudent, we won't do that.
And is there somehow we can standardize this process going forward for any road project?
Well, this is a unique one.
Right, but I'm saying even for East Oak that was done, there was things that I missed, there was things that Joe missed. Well, one was the poles, the other one was, we had no idea that the storm was gonna be in the terrace that would affect how it was gonna be setting the poles, because there was no time to review the plans. It was like the Friday before, it was Friday we had the meeting, or Thursday, and then Monday the road project started. Well, that doesn't give us much time to review any plans. So I'm just wondering, is there a way to standardize this process? Make it part of our yearly meetings where you guys discuss what roads are gonna be done.
And what's
then
really
we
sad
can have our
with that,
pre-con
we had to
meetings.
wait until, what, 18 months before we knew we had the ARPA funds? It took us that long, and then they give you such a short 6 months, you gotta get going at it or whatever, you know. We waited forever, that wouldn't even happen on our, if it had to be on our dime, we'd be doing another $2 million of spending or borrowing to be able to cover that stuff, you know, which is
But,
unfortunate.
you know, I think Nick's point is well taken for the years I've been on here. I think having a pre-construction
Yeah.
meeting where everybody understands the design, the plan, and we all are on the same page, because this has happened on other street projects where there's some confusion and what are we doing, so I think that would be helpful.
It gives, you know, longer time to review the plans.
Than the weekend.
Yeah, it's like the bubble out in the road. Yeah, you look at the road, it's like, why is that curve in the road? But then you look back in the plans, it's in the plans, so you can't change anything about it. Like Evan said, why did you design the road like this? Well, they had it in the design, we just didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Here's my suggestion. This was a unique situation this year with the ARPA funds. It was a very general plan, but on this one, your first step should be to have a meeting directly to get more specifics, and then what needs to go back to the committee level should go to the committee level and then brought to the council. Other projects going forward, you probably won't be put in this situation because you won't ever get something like this with the ARPA money. But you do want to be as specific as possible with what you approve at the council level, because then you avoid these kinds of problems.
Right.
And so that's what you should do in the future. And then you already have been having pre-construction meetings, but you need to do that as well. But I think point's well taken.
All right.
Okay, any other old business tonight? Or is that new business? Which one was that?
That was old.
No.
It's all
Okay,
old.
new business. New business, okay, we approved provincial licenses for Bethany Dallas for 45 days. Is there a motion to approve that liquor license?
So moved.
Motion by Morose, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Foodie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve regular bartender's license for 2024, expires June 30th, 2025. Bethany Dallas and Zachary Roloff. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Foodie, second by Morose. Any further discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah.
No other business? Motion adjourned?
So moved.
Motion by Morose,
Second.
second by Muchka.
That'd be quick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.